What is up, everybody out there in podcast land? I'm the maestro, Kevin Crane.
I'm the conquistador, Dave Height.
And welcome to the latest episode of Sports Frenzy 2.0. Running just a tad late, usually first thing Thursday morning, we've got this for you. But because of breaking news all over the NFL today, we decided to hold off. You're still getting your Thursday episode just at the back end.
That's what she said.
We're taping this on the 27th of January. This will hit within a couple hours after we finish yapping. Of course, the big news for us being Chicago Bears fans is not only did they hire a GM this week, but they also today hired a brand new head coach with underwhelming fanfare.
On both fronts, because it's Ryan and Matt 2.0.
Matt Eberflus is the new head coach, the Colts defensive coordinator. I am going to give it over to the conquistador here in just a sec because he gets full and complete credit. He said to me a couple weeks ago, with Bill Polian being a consultant for the Bears in the search, that there was going to be at least one, if not both, hires, GM and head coach, with connections to the Indianapolis Colts. We have a direct connection with the head coach and an indirect connection with the GM.
Ryan Poles.
But I would just like, before I give it over to him, the brains of the organization here. I'm the charisma, I'm the looks, he's the brains. Of course, the looks don't do me a damn bit of good on a podcast, but we've learned today, over the few hours that we've had, to get into the psyche, get into the mindset of Mr. Eberflus, that he likes acronyms.
Yes, I've heard acronyms are his thing.
So I would like to say that this hire stinks. S for sucks, T for terrible, I for incompetent, N for nonsensical, K for knuckleheaded, and S for stupid. I'm out. Take it over, Dave.
All right. As he said, we had our discussion with Polian involved. I knew it was going to come down to his people, his influence, and damned if it didn't come to pass. As the maestro said, direct connection. Eberflus has been the defensive coordinator for the Colts for the past 4 years. Two pretty good success on the defensive side of the ball. So, again, it's a first-time head coach that I have an issue with.
Well, I also have an issue with the fact that you and I always text back and forth throughout the week about things like this, especially when it's a team like the Bears that we both care about. 2 interviews with Dan Quinn, 2 interviews with Jim Caldwell.
Why?
Forrest never got an interview. Leftwich never got an interview. I thought they'd bring in Bieniemy after they hired Ryan Poles as the GM. We didn't even get that. I would have been happy to at least bring him in. This was such a limited search.
This was pathetic. Absolutely piss poor. I will say this is the better of the 3, because I would have blown a frickin' gasket with Caldwell or Quinn. They're both morons.
I'll disagree with you on. I would have rather had Dan Quinn than had Eberflus, and I'll tell you why, real quick. And I'll let you go back to explore the Polian connections. Eberflus, if you look at his resume, was the defensive coordinator for the Dallas Cowboys for a long time. He has a very close relationship with Rod Marinelli, because the rumors are that he might bring in Rod Marinelli, if not as the DC, as a consultant for the defense.
We were at one time thinking Marinelli should have been the head coach for the Bears.
I like Rod Marinelli. But the problem is, when you're comparing Dan Quinn to Matt Eberflus, Dan Quinn turned that Cowboys defense around this year. Now, that's the thing. Do I trust him as a head coach?
No, not after what he did in Atlanta.
But I actually think with if you're going to look at how they handle the defense, Quinn is actually a better option than Eberflus. The Colts defense is solid but not overwhelming. Now, we know the problem is we know what Quinn does as a head coach. He chokes.
Yeah.
He gags. Once Kyle Shanahan left, that team fell apart.
Quickly.
So I'll dispute. I didn't like any of them. I would have rather had Leftwich, Flores. Just give me somebody different. Go after Harbaugh. Take the big swing, although you know the Bears would never do that.
No, never, because McCaskey's such a doofus who can't get out of his own way, which is why I brought Bill Polian in to run this search. So, Polian was there and Indy, so you got the coach out of there. But GM Ryan Poles coming out of Kansas City. What's the connection, you ask? Chris Ballard, the Colts GM, who's worked with Polian. Ballard was an executive with Kansas City. At one time, had interviewed to be a GM for said Bears. But he didn't want to report to Ted Phillips. He wanted to report to McCaskey directly, and so they poo-pooed him and brought in Phil Emery instead. Brilliant freaking move.
A name that I have purged from my memory banks along with countless thousands of Bears fans out there.
Exactly. So Ballard was there in Kansas City at the start of beginning the build up to where they are. And lo and behold, Ryan Poles was there as an up-and-coming scout, moved up to director of player personnel and has moved on in the organization. So they have their little connection, which brings it full circle. And Ryan Poles was actually drafted by the Bears, but did not make the team coming out of camp.
Unbelievable. Absolutely unbelievable. I don't know how I can go on rooting for this team. They never give you any glimmer of hope. They'll make that big splashy move in the draft. They'll make the Jay Cutler deal, the Khalil Mack deal.
They'll spend money on the players, but they won't spend it on the people they should.
They won't
run
give
the
up
operation.
Power. They will not give up power.
Which is sad because they don't know what they're doing to run a team.
And that's why Robert Kraft is smiling all the way to his Asian massage parlors, not having to worry about his football team because he's got it in good hands with somebody he trusts.
He
and the
hired a
McCaskies
person
and
to
Ted
run
Phillips
the team.
Won't do that. That's why Jim Harbaugh was a pipe dream. Even with his connections to the Bears, we all know he was a pipe dream. We could have hoped for a Brian Flores or hoped
that was my
for
hope.
a Byron Leftwich. No.
We get first-timers
We get
again.
A puppet. Another puppet. Another goddamn puppet. Somebody, when they come into his office and we're going to draft this guy, or we're going to do this, or we're going to sign this guy, he's going, yes, that's a great idea, sir. Thank you, sir. Thanks for coming in and telling me, sir.
Yeah, no, McCaskey needs to get his stupid, dumb, rich ass out of all aspects of the operation. Let Phillips just go play real estate agent and worry about the new stadium. Please, let Poles run the football side of things completely. Stay out of his way. Let's see if he can actually do something and maybe recreate a little bit of what he learned in Kansas City. Because he's got a shot to get his second ring here, being in the organization.
Yeah, initially when I heard about the hiring of Ryan Poles, I was, of course, very negative about it because all I could think of was, oh, great. We went with Nagy last time as a head coach. Now we're bringing in a Kansas City-linked GM. You got to look at what Kansas City has done with their personnel over the last 5, 6, 7 years. They have been very smart. So there is hope there.
They've drafted very well, made good decisions, and by all reports I've heard, Poles has played a big role in who they drafted.
And
with
of course,
evaluation.
This year he's going to have to focus on free agency because
there is
really
no draft.
without a first round pick, it's going to be a really bare bones basic draft for him. He's going to have to find some diamonds in the rough.
Yeah.
But going back to the Polian thing, Jesus God, you give a guy $500,000 for this? For this?
I know. And again, first-time coach. But I will say, at least Eberflus has been a coordinator for a number of years, unlike Nagy's one and done. Nagy was an offensive coordinator for 1 year, calling plays when he got the call. At least there's more experience.
Okay.
I'm trying to grasp at the positives.
I know you are, and I'm Mr. Negative, but I heard
I still don't like
listening to 670 The Score out of Chicago, our source for a lot of this information. You got one gold piece in your locker room on your roster right now, and that is Justin Fields. And you bring in not only a defensive-minded guy, but you don't give any indication of any focus for what I'm hearing rumors that they're going to bring in the passing game coordinator from the Philadelphia Eagles.
Oh, jeez.
As the OC. Oh, and everybody's talking about, Justin Fields, look how many yards per game he put up. Running the ball.
Yeah.
Running the ball. Not passing the ball, running the ball. The Philadelphia Eagles passing coordinator had the easiest job in the world because they didn't throw the ball. Justin Fields ran the ball. Miles Sanders ran the ball.
Jalen Hurts, not Fields. Fields is the Bears.
Sorry.
Jalen Hurts was running.
It's just unbelievable to me that this organization is so inept. Everybody has down cycles, up cycles, unless you're the Patriots,
They're constantly on the up. The Bears, they're always at the bottom. Crazy.
We're just always a laughingstock. Always a laughingstock. Thank God for the New York teams.
No kidding.
Thank God for the Houston Texans. Otherwise, we would be
the
joke of the NFL.
Yeah. So now with the Giants, they wound up striking first on the GM front with Joe Shane.
Yep.
Who was in the running for the Bears. So now the Giants need to figure out who they're going to bring in as a head coach.
You're figuring that I listen to a lot of New York sports radio. They're figuring it's going to be Daboll, although they did bring in Brian Flores today for an interview.
Yeah.
The thing that stinks is, even though there's still a ton of openings out there, everybody figures Leftwich is now going to go to Jacksonville.
Now, I've heard contract talks broke down.
Okay.
This morning. So
the Giants and the Dolphins are fighting over Daboll.
Right.
And I still don't understand why nobody is jumping on Flores.
I know. What the hell's going on there?
And there's still rumors.
Then you got frickin' Miami now is giving an interview to Kellen Moore.
Well, it shocks me that it's this late in the game because we've heard.
Does that mean Daboll is going to the Giants?
It could mean that. Now, Vegas is still in play.
Yeah.
And here's an interesting hire from this week. Under the radar, but tell me what you think about this. The Baltimore Ravens fired, and this happened right after last week's episode, fired defensive coordinator Don Wink Martindale, who was getting interviews last year for head coaching jobs. Now he's out as the DC. Who does John Harbaugh hire? The Michigan Wolverines defensive coordinator.
Yep. Poach from his brother. Does that mean Wink is going to Michigan?
Does that mean that the Michigan DC sees the writing on the wall? He knows something we don't.
Perhaps.
That Jim could be heading to Vegas.
Which is a family decision because his wife's family all lives out there. So,
but they've been very quiet with the Raiders.
Yes, they have. Then you've got the Broncos making a splash, getting ready to hire Packers offensive coordinator Nathaniel Hackett.
And of course, everybody now says, speculation, rampant rumors. Does this mean
the rebuild?
Does this mean the next step is, because they have
Rodgers out
tons of cap space, they could be the ones to bring in Rodgers.
Now they have enough room. They could bring Rodgers and
Devontae
Adams.
Yes. Now that would be interesting to see what they could do. Is they've got so many good young receivers, they could flip a Cortland Sutton, or they could flip a Jerry Jeudy or a Tim Patrick for a high draft pick, a third, maybe a second, depending on which one you're talking about.
Yeah.
But yeah, they have more than enough cap room to get both Aaron Rodgers and Devontae Adams in. And the rumors are, remember when we went nuts years ago when Kirk Cousins got that first fully guaranteed deal?
Yeah.
Rumors I'm hearing now are that if Aaron Rodgers does not get a 4-year deal for a minimum of 130 fully guaranteed, he might walk.
Let him walk. I wouldn't give him that much.
Of course, we're going to say that. We hate his guts. And he's a Packer.
He's a choker. He's been a choker of late.
And we talked about this at our award ceremony, our Sports Frenzy award ceremony.
He is not a good teammate.
And
he's got a horrible attitude.
The AFC is so loaded with young quarterbacks and good young teams that even if he were to go to Denver with Devontae Adams, they're not getting past the Chiefs anytime soon. They're not getting past the Chargers. And that's just in their division.
Yeah.
That's not talking about Joe Burrow. That's not talking about Josh Allen.
Yeah, it's a stacked conference.
If he was as smart as he is, Mr. Lateral Thinker, he would figure out a way to stay in the NFC. If he hates the Packers that much, I don't know, go to New Orleans, depending on who they bring in as a coach.
Yeah.
You know?
And you still don't know what the Vikings are going to do.
Their cap situation is just as bad as the Packers is.
If not worse.
So you got to find a team like the Broncos
that have the money to spend. Yeah, Vikings got their general manager, Adolfo Mensa.
Yep.
So who's in the run? I haven't heard anybody in the running for their head coach at this point.
Nope. And
of course, been awfully quiet.
We don't get a lot of Vikings feed or chatter, so that's not surprising. But from what I have seen over the last week, the 3 big names for GMs are off the board.
Right. It was going to be Poles, Shane, and Adolfo Mensa.
Now, I mentioned a couple weeks ago on the podcast talking about that Indianapolis connection and the Bill Polian thing. Morocco Brown was the guy I was trying to think of.
Oh, yeah.
And he supposedly, what I heard today on the score, he was the runner-up to Poles.
Again, sticking within that Colts organization.
But see, I was thinking
6 degrees of separation to Bill Polian.
Again, I was thinking you were right, because I always think you're right. But I was thinking it was going to be the GM. I thought Morocco Brown was going to be the one they would hire.
Be the more direct link.
Because I'm like, who on that coaching staff really do we want? Oh, God! Oh, Maestro, how foolish are you to think that the Bears could ever come up with a logical solution to a problem?
Yeah. Logic and McCaskey have nothing going together.
And, of course, I did mention that the Saints now have an opening because Sean Payton has stepped away after a decade and a half with the Saints.
Yep, he's stepping away from coaching.
Settle down, Cowboys fans. Settle down. He ain't going to Dallas this year.
No, not this year. Maybe not next year, because how much is Jerry Jones actually going to give up? Because Peyton is still under contract through 2024.
That's the catch.
So if you want him before 2025, you're going to have to pony up some money and some draft picks.
Yep. So you're on notice, Dan Quinn. You're on notice, Mike McCarthy. You had better get it done this year.
Yep.
Because Mr. Payton is waiting in the wings. And I have a feeling that if I wouldn't be shocked if Sean Payton sends a box of Pampers to Mike McCarthy and puts a little note on it saying, "Don't shit the bed this year." Because I'm waiting, buddy.
Just help a brother out.
But now, before Sean Payton announced this, I actually had heard rumors that he was going to go into the booth with Joe Buck because Amazon is trying to throw big money at Troy Aikman to bring him over to work with Al Michaels.
There's also talk that you could have Aikman doing Thursday Night Football for Amazon
right.
and still doing the Fox broadcast with Buck.
If he's willing to do that work, good for him.
If he's willing, and
he does it
damn
almost
well
all the time anyway, because a lot of the games on Amazon are aired over Fox Thursday night right now anyway. Now Amazon's taking over exclusive rights.
Yeah. But the NFL is going to do everything in their power to make sure this works. And you look at the way, especially this year, all the stations cross-promoted each other.
Oh, they always do. Yeah, they always do a good job of that. Yeah.
And they're going to make sure Amazon works, and I guarantee the NFL is going to come in and say, if they want Aikman and you want him, make it work to share him.
But Peyton, I'll tell you what, Peyton has the personality. We've seen Drew Brees get ripped apart for the little bit he did late this season in terms of his work on some of these games. Sean Payton, I could see going right in and being fantastic.
I would hope.
But again, if he sucks, guess what? He's not going to be Jason Witten. Come on.
No.
Or Booger McFarland.
Oh, nobody could be that bad.
I heard rumors they're already talking about breaking up the Monday Night Football booth again. I'm like, you finally got a group of guys that actually work.
You got a group that work together well.
Greasy, Levy, and Louis Riddick are great.
And that still pisses me off. The Bears wouldn't have made a run at Riddick.
I know. I love Louis Riddick. Absolutely love him.
That's who I really wanted to be the GM.
Yep. He's a smart football guy. But no, we had to go Bill Polian.
Ugh.
Who's going to feed him his creamed carrots for dinner?
who's going
the game passed him by 10 years ago. Jesus. Finally, speaking of the game passing somebody by, but just recently, Hall of Famer Big Ben Roethlisberger has officially called it.
Yep, 18 years leading the Steelers on the field. Hell of a career.
Yeah. And again, because the pass-happy NFL over the last 15, 20 years, his numbers are a little inflated. You know, I think they said he's fifth all-time in passing yards, which seems a little odd to me. But then if you look, Kerry Collins is up in the top 15.
Yeah.
So the game has changed. It's hard to compare guys like Brian Greasy and Terry Bradshaw, or not Brian, his dad, Bob
Greasy, Roger Staubach.
Those guys, Terry Bradshaw, you can't compare those guys to Peyton Manning,
Right. It wasn't
Tom
a passing
Brady.
league back in the day.
Yep. So he'll be a sure, I would say, first ballot Hall of Famer.
I would think.
Hopefully, people will acknowledge the fact that he is better than Eli Manning.
Oh, God, by a mile and a half.
But we all know about nepotism in the NFL. You know,
it runs rampant.
The Mannings rule. So we have got to talk about the games from this past weekend, supposedly the greatest weekend of football of all time.
It was pretty damn good overall.
Yep.
As a complete weekend, it was really damn good.
And then, of course, we also have to bring up our picks for the AFC and NFC championship games.
Yep.
Although I do feel like a little bit of the luster, a little bit of the energy has been sucked out of the room now with some of the results of some of these games.
Yeah, it's kind of a letdown here and there. So, but little tidbit before we wrap the segment up, the USFL has completed their coaching for the last two teams.
Did not hear this. Dave's got the scoop on me.
Jeff Fisher.
God. Who is it? Houston? Is he going to Houston?
No, the Michigan Panthers.
Oh, poor Michigan. Poor Michigan.
And then former North Carolina head coach Larry Fedora, the New Orleans Breakers.
Oh, okay. I have no idea who he is.
Me neither, but there you go.
Yeah, and I can't remember. The first four were announced a couple weeks ago. We covered that. I couldn't remember if Houston had already gotten a coach, but I just figured Fisher might be a logical choice there.
Yeah, nope, he's going with the Michigan Panthers.
So who are the other two? There should be two more.
These were just the two so
Okay, there
far.
should be two more
Then there
openings.
should be two more out there,
Yeah.
but these are the two that I saw drop today.
Okay, so that means probably if those are the only two, we've got two more coming because that'd be 6 out of the 8 teams.
Yeah, maybe Wink Martindale will get one of them.
For the USFL, he's a hot commodity. Good thing you brought up the USFL. I do have one other thing to bring up. When it comes to that, they are getting a big media push. The opening game for the USFL season coming up here in a couple months will be the first game since Super Bowl I to be aired on two rival networks, two major rival networks, not cable, because ESPN, of course, airs every game on all of their Deportes, Ocho, Classic, whatever. But the USFL opener will air on both NBC and Fox simultaneously.
Simulcast.
Yes. So the first time since Super Bowl I.
Now, are they each having their own crews, or are they just simulcasting it? That would be intriguing.
That I do not know. I would almost think they would go with different crews to make it really interesting.
Do they have the money?
The USFL seem to have a really good backing. They're getting a really good promotional push here.
We can hope.
Well, I'm all down with spring football if it actually, they need to serve as the minor leagues for the NFL.
Yes. Let these undrafted guys come into here, show what they can do.
And every once in a while, if they get a big splashy signing like they did back in the 80s, in the time of Trump and the time of Herschel Walker and the time of Steve Young, where they were screwing the NFL over a little bit.
Yeah. Oh,
I wouldn't mind seeing that.
Isn't that where Jim Kelly got his start too?
Yes, absolutely. So, because now with the downfall, I heard today they were talking about the USFL, but also talking about, remember Ricky Williams a couple years ago wanted to start his little pot league or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
That's completely off the table now. So now it's down to the USFL. And then next year, The Rock, Dwayne Johnson, is supposed to be the big backer behind the, yet again, uprising resuscitation of the XFL.
The XFL 3.0.
I just wonder if the USFL does well here this year in 2022, is that going to tell them, forget it?
It probably could. Because who else? What are they going to be able to do?
Do you go into the midsummer, like when the USFL might end in June? Do you go June to August?
God, you don't want to be playing football.
I know.
During those months,
you can barely get the NFL players to go to mini camp.
Yeah,
at that time of year.
You can't do that.
All right, kids, fun. That's just one segment of at least two more coming for you. Don't forget to check out the weekend edition. We've got a lot of great stuff on that.
Yep. Tell your friends, drop us a line, let us know what you think.
Check out our Facebook page. We will be right back with our recap of the NFL divisional round and our picks for championship weekend Sunday coming up.
Hello, friends. Are you tired of the boring sports analysis you get from the major outlets? If so, join the Maestro and the Conquistador for a riveting discussion of all sports topics on Sports Frenzy 2.0. Available on Spotify, Google, Apple, and wherever podcasts are available. Hey kids, welcome to segment 2 of Sports Frenzy 2.0 here on January 27th. I'm the Conquistador Dave Height.
Along with the Maestro Kevin Crane.
Now it's time to break down NFL Division Weekend.
The greatest football weekend of all time.
Everything is the greatest
Allegedly.
Of all time after it happens. Now, we had some epic games. And we had an epic game. And we had a couple of
See, I am always going to be the pessimist, as you so aptly put it last segment. So I'm going to say I don't know, outside of what we witnessed Sunday night. I don't know if I'm going to go so far as to say the greatest weekend of football ever.
No, there were close games. They were the the 4 closest games we've had
Ever in history.
But I would not say they were the greatest games in
Right.
history.
No, because we saw a game starting off with the first game on Saturday afternoon, the Bengals and the Titans, where the Bengals let up 9 sacks. Ryan Tannehill throws 3 interceptions. Am I going to call that a great game?
No, that was abysmal. And what the hell is Tannehill doing throwing to begin with?
Well, I told you. I said 3 guys that ruined their futures this past weekend. Ryan Tannehill, Todd Bowles, Leslie Frazier.
Yep.
Start off with, again, the first game. If Tannehill, there were 2 problems for me with this game. Number 1, Tannehill, terrible. Absolutely. Everybody's ripping on Jimmy Garoppolo. Jimmy Garoppolo usually throws 1 bad pick a game. Tannehill threw 3.
3 poorly timed passes those should not have been thrown. Why weren't they relying on the running game?
I mean, a lot of people are asking that question.
Even if Henry wasn't 100%,
that's the thing.
Their backup they couldn't be stopped with the run.
Donta Foreman has shown, and I heard this from a lot of people, he has shown that he can be a starting running back somewhere else. If it wasn't for the fact in Tennessee this year he's stuck behind Derrick Henry.
Yeah.
But when he got his chance to shine, he did.
Yeah. And I'm sorry, they were running on the Bengals easily. Why were you trying to rely on Tannehill to throw? It made absolutely no sense whatsoever, especially at the end of the game.
Right. And the other thing that pissed me off about this game is the analytics. The analytics are creeping into pro football, into college football. They've already destroyed baseball. Mike Vrabel, who I usually think is one of the top 10 coaches in the NFL, makes a early boneheaded move.
That was pathetic.
If he kicked the extra point on that first touchdown, he got the penalty that moved it up from what would have been the 2 to the 1 for the 2-point conversion. But he still could have kicked the extra point, gone up 7-6. If he had done that when they had the ball, and I know everybody's going to say, oh, that would have altered the universe butterfly effect, yada, yada, yada.
No,
but if they'd had that 1-point lead instead of being tied 6-6, at the end of the game, Tannehill wouldn't have had to try to force the ball down the field. They could have been more conservative, run clock off, because they would have had a 1-point lead instead of being tied and having to try to win the game instead of going to overtime. And what happens?
Exactly.
Tannehill shits the bed again. They lose.
Because they had poor clock management.
I'm so sick of the analytics.
And we will get to clock management later on here, kids.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. So the Bengals, not trying to take anything away from the Bengals, but again, letting up 9 sacks.
That's oh God, that's just bad.
I love Joe Burrow. I love the fact he would get hit, go down, get up.
He's not gonna last unless they fix that line.
They will.
God.
But good for the Bengals. They will end up going into Kansas City to play the Chiefs. We'll talk about that game later. Saturday night, though, was a slobber knocker, ugly. Again, I don't understand how you say it's a great weekend of football watching that San Francisco Green Bay.
It was a crap fest. It was a battle of ineptitude. They were both crappy. It was crappy play from both teams.
San Francisco's defense, we all know, is good. They played extremely well. Jimmy G had his one bad moment, which he always does. But otherwise, at the end, he came through. He hit a couple passes when he needed to. The lateral thinker did not play well.
No, great drive.
At the
opening
beginning.
drive.
Right.
That was the only thing he did. And we talked earlier that he was a bad teammate. And it shows up here in this game. Why? Because his tight end dropped a pass early on. Rodgers never looked his way again. He focused solely on Adams.
Absolutely correct. Because remember, they made a big deal before the game. Oh, he's getting Randall Cobb back. Randall Cobb's been his safety blanket on and off for how many years?
Yeah. This year, Randall Cobb was back, and he did not go to him all that often.
He didn't throw a single pass his way, or at least he didn't catch one in this game. Lazard barely saw the ball.
Yeah.
Valdez-Scantling wasn't even in the game. And like you said, he just wiped the tight end off the options board because of one drop.
Yeah, because he's a frickin' stat whore, egomaniac, candy-ass little bitch. He cannot take his own ego out of the equation for the betterment of the team.
And you got to look at the Green Bay Packers as a whole. And I actually have been one of the people, as a Bears fan, to stick up for their front office, for the way that team is run. I have envied them for 30 years. I have envied them. They've had Brett Favre, Aaron Rodgers.
They keep
two rings. A lot of people would say, I'd take it. But you know that run's going to come to an end at some point, and they are going to crater. They have been so lucky for 30 years, basically, with Favre and Rodgers.
In contention for the postseason, getting to the NFC Championship. And for whatever reason, quarterback ego tends to be the thing that gets in the way.
And you wonder if it's because it's a small town, a small city. Again, we've talked about this. That's the focus of the city. That's the focus of the area. That's the one team they have.
Yeah, that's all they have.
So Favre and Rodgers come in strolling in like they're gods as opposed to somewhere like New York or L.A.
Yeah, and why isn't the fan base more pissed off that they've only gotten 2 rings out of all of this?
And of course, they'll look back at history and go, well, we technically have 4 because we got the first 2. Yeah, 50 plus years ago.
Yeah, no, in this run with these 2 guys,
you are going, Green Bay, I'm sorry. You at some point are going to crater. At some point, it all swings around and evens out.
And the House of Cards.
You have pissed away your opportunity over 30 years where you should have been more dominant and had 4 or 5 rings. Yep. That's what I'm saying.
And the House of Cards is folding because they are so far over the cap. They can't keep anybody right now.
Yeah, I think if they let Rodgers go.
Unless they fully leverage the future with restructuring.
Right.
Which is what's gotten New Orleans in trouble right now.
Right.
That's why the Bears are in a little bit of trouble right now.
Right. Yeah, because right now I think if they let Davante Adams go, free agent, sign somewhere else, and they trade Aaron Rodgers, they might actually be at the cap number.
Yeah, I think that's about what I heard.
I don't know as much about the cap as all these geniuses in the NFL front offices do. I've heard people say, right now, if you're 20 million over, you're okay. You can make that work, when it comes time.
Mortgage your future.
To drop people, to cut people.
Give big signing bonuses.
But straight math, you get rid of Aaron Rodgers, trade him, let Davante Adams go if you're Green Bay, then you're at the cap right there, that number. So you're looking at Jordan Love. Good luck. For once, the Bears have a better quarterback than the Packers. And we'll see how long that takes before Eberflus destroys Justin Fields. Again, I hate to keep going back to that. They're going to do it again.
I know they're going to ruin a quarterback.
Oh, my God.
But the hero of the Niners day, most accurate kicker in Bears history, Robbie Gould, comes shining through.
Great kick in bad conditions.
That's what he's known for.
Yep.
Mr. Clutch.
The block punt, phenomenal. Clutch play. Of course, the Green Bay Packers. Now, do we start talking about Matt LaFleur as an overrated head coach? Because he never fixed his special teams.
What was his comment? I just hope the special teams doesn't lose it for us.
Yep. And Mason Crosby's part of that problem, even though...
Why? They've had so many opportunities to let him go and move on, but they continue to bring
and he
him
has
back.
had years that have been awful. I remember a year where he was literally hitting 60% of his kicks. He was so bad.
Yeah.
He's like having that Steve Sachs, thing, the Chuck Knobloch thing. He's having the yips. He hasn't been that good otherwise.
No.
Look at the Bengals kicker. We need to give him props too. Rookie kicker. I think 5th round out of Florida, McPherson.
Yeah, came in and
balls out.
Boom.
And 4 field goals, including the game winner. Tells Joe Burrow, took 1 practice kick and says, "Guess we're going to the AFC Championship, bud." That's the kicker I want. And I'm happy the Bears actually finally have a good kicker.
Yeah.
After years of searching. But that's the kind of kid I want. He's going to be kicking for the Bengals for the next 10 to 15 years.
At least.
Yep. I have no problem with teams drafting a kicker, by the way. I get kind of tired of bringing the journeyman, bringing this guy who was cut from here.
Draft a good young kicker that you are going to have forever.
I remember when the Raiders, 1st round, drafted Sebastian Janikowski.
Yep. Good Lord.
You know what? In retrospect, that was not a terrible pick.
No, it wasn't. Not at all. How many games did he win for him?
Yep. But like this McPherson kid, 5th round pick, that could end up being a steal.
Yeah.
A steal and a half.
All right. Moving on to Sunday.
So, of course,
Sunday.
San Francisco wins.
Yep.
They're going to go to their home away from home, SoFi Stadium.
Oh. SoFi Stadium. Rams will be hosting after they beat the Buccaneers on a last-second field goal.
Boy, the Bucs buried themselves so deep.
27-3 at one point. Brady leads them back. No thanks to the damn officiating in that game.
I still think Hockley had a vendetta out in the first half on the Buccaneers. 3 personal foul calls, including one because Brady got hit in the chin.
There was a personal foul against the
flag.
Rams for hitting Brady in the head with the helmet. You are not allowed. That's an automatic personal foul against the defense. They let it go. Brady goes, "What the hell? Look at my mouth. I'm bleeding." And Hockley throws the personal foul, unsportsmanlike conduct.
Right.
30-yard swing right there.
Yep.
And absolutely then, of course, uncalled for.
I know technically the letter of the law, this was the correct call. But when they called the personal foul late in the game on the catch where Mike Evans almost had it, and then they clock him.
Yeah.
But because the ball is on the ground a millisecond before.
Right at the point of contact.
Right. They said, nope, that's a post-possession foul.
No, this was a game where the officials pretty much almost decided the outcome.
Well, the Rams didn't help themselves with 4 turnovers.
No.
All in crucial spots. Now, I will say...
Stafford almost lioned himself multiple times.
Mostly it was not his fault. There was the snap over his head. Akers fumbled twice.
He fumbled late.
But, yeah, between the referees, everything Tampa Bay had to overcome, it will be interesting to see how Brady processes this loss. Because if he decides to bow out, I don't think there's any shame in bowing out on this performance. He played pretty well.
He played well. He brought them back and gave them a chance to win.
Right, and same with Gronk. Gronk played very well as well.
Yep. I mean, those were the two who pretty much led the charge.
And Mike Evans.
Right.
But that's all they had. I mean, Fournette had a good game, too. It was good to see him back.
But where was the young kid?
Yep. You didn't have that guy on the other side, to take the pressure off of Mike Evans or Gronk. Yep. So, because, of course, Antonio Brown, still sitting around shirtless, wanting to sue the Buccaneers.
Ugh.
Did you happen to hear about that interview he had with Bryant Gumbel?
Oh, where his agent had to cut
his
in?
Lawyer. His lawyer, where they're going to sue the Buccaneers because they say that the Buccaneers, number one, forced him to take a shot of a painkiller that I've heard every freaking player takes before a game if they have any kind of injury. And then number two, of course, the whole thing where, they forced me to play. They wanted to force me to get mental health help. Or as he puts it, put me in a nut house.
Yeah.
His words, not mine.
Guess what, buddy? You do have some issues. Everybody knows it. Going back to the beginning of your career, going back to college, you had issues. But when your lawyer has to answer the questions because you're such a nut job, a loose cannon, you were going to destroy your own legal basis. You know this isn't going to fly. And I'm sorry, if your ankle hurt that damn bad, why are you dancing and skipping off the field after you disrobed? If your ankle hurt that bad, you sure as hell got off the field quickly and in a flamboyant way.
Yeah, I don't see him as having a leg to stand on. Seriously, I hate his guts. And now he's talking about going to play with Lamar Jackson in Baltimore.
Yeah.
Do you really think John Harbaugh is going to put up with that shit?
Oh, hell no. I'm sorry. Antonio Brown, you're done in the NFL, especially if you're going to bring a suit. That's the kiss of death for sure.
Oh, my God. So, again, third game in a row for the weekend. Another last-second field goal. Even though he was supposedly injured in pregame warmups, Matt Gay hit the game-winning field goal. So the Rams will host the 49ers in the late game this coming Sunday, the NFC Championship. It'll be interesting to see, number one, how many 49er fans get to show up in SoFi as we look back at that last game of the regular season.
Where they took
a sea of
over.
A sea of red, where Matt Stafford's wife has to go on and beg and plead. This is what you get in California.
Yeah.
The casual fans who don't care.
Yep. No, in Los Angeles, because 49er fans care.
True.
LA fans could give a rat's ass. It's the flavor of the moment.
Yep. I want to go back one last thing. I've got to bring this up. One last thing pisses me off about the Packers before we move on to the game of the weekend. Because we're still going to have 10 minutes to break that sucker down.
We're good.
Did you, when you were watching the San Francisco Green Bay game, I'm going back to Matt LaFleur, because I think he's overrated. I'm sorry. I know his record is stellar, and it looks fantastic. You put it on a resume, you go, wow, look at this guy. All I saw, at least 3 shots of him during the tense moments of the game, the most intense moments of that game. What's he doing? He's turning to the crowd and trying to get the crowd excited and to cheer. I'm thinking, how about you let the guys on the bench do that? The players who are in the game, you worry about coaching your goddamn team. Coaching lateral thinker.
Yeah, exactly.
I can't stand when coaches do that. That's a sign of weakness to me. That is a goddamn sign of weakness. You need to coach your goddamn team.
Yep, focus on the field.
Jimmy Johnson aren't doing that.
Focus on the game. Your team.
Do you want me to give you a pair of green and gold pom-poms for, instead of your Surface tablet? For you to, ooh, go Packers, ooh, go Packers.
Yeah, no, that was pretty bad.
I actually do want Aaron Rodgers to leave for multiple reasons, but one of the most important reasons, then I want to see how good Matt LaFleur is as a head coach. David, Sunday night.
The game of the season.
And I will admit, this one was one of the best games I've ever seen.
This was phenomenal. This is almost up there with that legendary 80s Dolphins-Chargers game that went back and forth when Kellen Winslow dislocated his shoulder a couple of times. This was that kind of knockdown, drag out, up and down. Good Lord.
You basically saw the 2 best quarterbacks in the AFC for the next 10 years.
Yeah, and they
went toe-to-toe.
It's sad that it had to end the way it did in overtime, because I would have loved to have seen if Josh Allen once again could have matched. Oh, God.
Now, talking, of course, that's been the big topic in sports radio, sports discussion all week, is should we change the overtime rules again to make it so that at least each team gets the ball at least once.
I'm not for the regular season. Not for the regular season. Playoffs, yes. Because so much is riding on the playoffs.
I get tired of the society we live in. I get tired of the something goes wrong and somebody gets wronged, so we have to fix it. We always have to fix it.
But
but here's the thing: if we try to expand the overtime, if we try to say play a full 10 minutes or a full 15 minutes, and then just keep going until you get a winner. Then you get people who, what about player safety, CTE? Oh my God, you're trying to kill these people. You're never going to win. You are never going to win in an argument like this.
Never. And you know what? At least we've got the opportunity that if the field goal is there, the other team has an opportunity. I'm good with that. This could just be everybody's overreaction because it was such a phenomenal game. And they could both go toe-to-toe like that. You just wanted to see if Allen could again do it.
Oh, sure.
You're never going to have this type of situation again.
Well, a true football fan didn't want that game to end.
No.
They wanted to keep going back and forth till 3 a.m. That was the one time where I would have stayed up and watched the game till 3 a.m.
Yeah.
But the coin toss is the problem with me. I don't like the random coin toss deciding in a game like this, especially who gets the ball first, because they're going to go down and score. The Bills would have done the exact same thing.
Yeah.
So then the argument is play defense. Leslie Frazier.
God, the top defense in the league gave up an average of 163 yards a game. They let up over 500 yards to the Chiefs in this one. That's unacceptable in and of itself.
Well, the most unacceptable part of it is letting the Chiefs, even though they had 2 timeouts,
13 seconds at the end of regulation. Why are you kicking the ball through the frickin' end zone? You squib it and make them field the ball and make them return it. You're going to knock out at least half that time.
And then after that, even if you're going to choose not to do that, you've got to put people in the middle
of the field.
They have 2 timeouts.
Doesn't matter.
Let them run sideline patterns.
Right. Let them run the sideline patterns and eat up the clock and step down. Do not give up the middle of the field for the big chunk plays.
Right, because they have those timeouts so they can stop the clock, and that's exactly what they did. Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce, boom, boom, field goal. You would have been better off clumping guys in the middle of the field, forcing them out of bounds, because the clock is still going to run the same amount of time.
Exactly.
Run a quick 15-yard out pattern.
But you're not giving up the 25. Ugh.
Right. And the clock's going to stop, and they still got their timeouts. They're not going to be able to use them because there's not enough time to use 2 timeouts.
Exactly.
Other than if you let them use the middle of the field.
Stupid.
And then, of course, in overtime, he just completely shits the bed.
Oh, my God, that was
just
awful.
Go right down the field. Travis Kelce and Tony Romo's like, oh, my God, I don't think it's over. They're consulting. They're looking at it. It's like his, drunken 2 a.m. cigar bitch voice.
Tony,
oh, my God!
Why? What is everybody's fascination? Why do they think Tony Romo is good?
I can't figure it out. I listened to him.
Why is he getting so much? Why is he making more money than Troy Aikman?
Literally, Dave, we could have had a drinking game during the Bills-Chiefs game for every time. If Tony Romo says unbelievable, take a shot. And we would have been out by the 3rd quarter. Because all I heard, that was unbelievable, Jim. That was unbelievable, Jim. Oh, that was unbelievable. Oh, my God, could you shut up, Tony?
Please find somebody else to work with Nance.
He is not professional. He is not fun to listen to.
He's a joke.
Aikman is so much better. Aikman is professional. Aikman doesn't get overwhelmed with the emotion of the moment.
And I don't care. Sorry, Rome. No, you can't
I
have
agree
that.
with you on this. I agree with you on this. I can't stand the fact he's the most highest paid analyst in the game.
For no reason. What the hell did he ever do with the Cowboys?
But people love him, like you said. People
Why?
love him. I don't get it. That's why I almost want Sean Payton to come in. Give me another person who I can listen to, who I can actually respect. There's so few of them out there. At least I know he's not going to be another Aqib Talib. So, yeah, we talked about this earlier. Leslie Frazier, in this game,
coached himself out of another gig.
Yep, and I did mention Todd Bowles. I did not mention the play in the Bucs loss when they let Cooper Kupp wide open again in the middle of the field to set up that game-winning Matt Gay field goal. He was the other one that lost any chance he had of getting a head coaching position.
Yeah, you cannot let the MVP of the league in Kupp get that wide open.
I agree with that too, by the way. We'll get to that on another episode. Right before the Super Bowl when they announce the awards. And they give it to Mr. Lateral Thinker.
No, it's Cooper Kupp is the MVP. If it wasn't
for the fact Derrick Henry got injured, he might have got it. Cooper Kupp is the MVP of the NFL. And we'll discuss that more. But yeah, I'm with you on that. Cooper Kupp should be the NFL MVP for 2021-22.
Hands down.
Wow, kids. We blew through that episode. We didn't even get to our picks.
Good God, man.
So we're going to have to do those first thing here coming up in the next segment. Good thing there's not really much else going on in the world of sports.
Yeah, that's a damn good thing.
Once we get done with our picks for the AFC and NFC championships, we're going to do a special edition of our Red Foreman Dumbasses of the Week, more like a philosophical discussion. Well, these are going to be some topics that we're going to have to take a couple minutes and discuss when we hit each one.
Because everything is kind of stupid and dumb.
And we have to look at perspective. We have to look at environment.
Yeah, and we got a few little miscellaneous things to throw in there.
Yeah, we do have a couple baseball things and NASCAR things to look at real quick. So bear with us. We're having fun. Check out the weekend edition.
Drop us a line.
We will be right back. Now that we've let you into Frenzy Club, here are 3 rules. 1, you don't talk about Sports Frenzy 2.0. You listen to it on Spotify, Anchor, Google, Apple, and all other major podcast hosts. 2 guys to a show. Kev Dave, the Maestro and the Conquistador. 3, 1 Sports Frenzy episode at a time. Until Saturday, when you get the weekend edition. Now get in there and let loose on some PC wussbags, will ya? Hey everybody, welcome back to Sports Frenzy 2.0. I am the Maestro, Kevin Crane.
I'm the Conquistador, Dave Height.
Taping here on January the 27th, 2022. We have been talking nothing but NFL football, and we've still got more to get to.
Because we ran out of time to give you our conference championship picks.
First up, Sunday, coming up the 30th, the Bengals at the Chiefs, the upstart Bengals, and I guess you'd say now the entrenched AFC frontrunners, the Kansas City Chiefs.
Yep, kind of hard to go against the Chiefs at home at this point, looking at the way both teams have been playing coming down the stretch here. No surprise, the entire panel, everybody goes Chiefs.
Yeah, and I think the thing that worried me the most is that even with Kansas City's defense being somewhat suspect, the fact that the Titans got 9 sacks on Joe Burrow.
Yeah, that was...
Even if the Chiefs can put some pressure on him, maybe get 2 or 3 sacks, given what Mahomes and Hill and Kelsey can do probably against that. Everybody's talking up the Bengals defense. I don't think it's that great.
I don't think they're all that. They're susceptible. Yes, the Bengals have a ton of weapons on offense. but the Chiefs' defense might just be able to hold up enough.
Yep.
And I don't know that Burrow is going to play the pinball game like Allen was able to.
Yeah, so the Bengals are definitely on the up, but the Chiefs are already at the pinnacle.
Yeah.
In the AFC.
They're going to be really, really difficult to knock off.
Yep. NFC Championship Sunday night. The 49ers at the Rams. Number one, who's going to have more fans in the stands at SoFi?
Yeah. Will the Niners continue to travel well, or will they be shut out of purchasing tickets?
If Jimmy Garoppolo could play one really solid, mistake-free game, the 49ers could win this going away.
They can, because their defense has played so much better than the Rams' defense.
Even though the Rams have the big names, I mean, you got Bosa with the 49ers, but you've got Aaron Donald, Jalen Ramsey, Von Miller, and I agree with you. I think DeMeco Ryans has coached up that San Francisco defense better than what Raheem Morris has done with the Rams defense.
Yeah, it's like he hasn't even coached these guys up. He's expecting them to win on their talent alone without doing much scheming.
Now, that being said, I don't believe Jimmy Garoppolo can play a mistake-free game.
But
and I still think the talent-laden Rams, the coaching matchup is probably
it's a wash.
A draw. Right. But now you've got Akers, Sony Michel. You've got Beckham actually acting like a decent receiver / teammate to go with our MVP, Cooper Kupp.
Right.
Tyler Higbee's playing very well as a tight end.
Finally,
the postseason, he has really played better.
He's actually shown up.
I think this is going to be a close game, probably 3 to 6 points, but I just think the Rams will win. Talent will win out. Stafford has already got the monkey off his back.
Does he?
Well, let's put it this way.
He's playing with house money right now.
He ain't winning the Super Bowl.
No.
I'll tell you that right now. I don't care who wins between the Bengals and Chiefs, because if the Bengals show up in Arrowhead and beat the Chiefs, then I'm taking the Bengals to win the whole thing. But if the Chiefs do what they're supposed to do,
they're
which is win the whole thing,
roughshod over anybody.
Right. So an achievement for McVay, for Stafford, would be to get, for me, in my opinion, to get to the Super Bowl. Not to win it, to get there again.
Yeah. I see Garoppolo playing that mistake-free game. I still have no confidence in Stafford. So I'm taking the Niners.
Yeah, we got a little bit of dissension here. Bill and Jen are with you.
Yep.
Everybody else takes the Rams.
So should be a good game.
But I think both games will be good. I do. I could see the Chiefs maybe pulling away in the fourth quarter against Cincinnati.
Yeah.
But one thing I hope Cincinnati doesn't do is they look at this like, we've achieved so much already this year. We're fine with it.
I want to see them keep their foot to the floor.
Yep. Don't let up. Don't let up. Don't do that. We'll see how good of a coach Zach Taylor is.
Yeah.
After 2 abysmal years, now he's got a healthy team, a healthy Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase in the fold.
This is your chance to shine. Let's see what you can do.
Yep. All right, moving on to baseball. We got a couple minutes here to talk about 2 big controversies. Number one, of course, involving the Hall of Fame. I think I'm speaking for Dave, but I think he'll agree with me that we hate the Baseball Hall of Fame.
The elitist mentality of the Baseball Hall of Fame.
Yes. The writers involved.
Oh, my God. They are
who are now all of a sudden holier than thou when it comes to, oh, my God, if they don't let Barry Bonds in, they're just – you were the ones that condemned Barry Bonds for the last 15 years.
Yeah, you were the
Now
ones.
you're being hypocrites and saying the Baseball Hall of Fame has a problem if they don't put him in.
No.
And Clemens.
Ever since the steroids came out, every damn sports writer, no, we're not going to put him in. They tainted the game. They ruined it. They cheated. All the way up until the final. And now, no, sorry, you can't play both ways.
Yeah, exactly. You can't have it both ways. You can't. And you don't like Republicans, so you're not putting Kurt Schilling in. That's bullshit, too. Because how does somebody's political views come into impacting how they played on the baseball diamond?
2 words. Bloody sock.
Fake or not, the dude was a postseason monster for 2 teams.
Yep. Schilling belongs in.
You can have your debate about steroids when it comes to Clemens, when it comes to Bonds. But here's my problem with the one person they decided to put in.
Big Papi.
Big Papi was linked to steroids. But somehow it's okay because it wasn't as bad. It wasn't as conclusive.
He wasn't as officially tainted. And everybody loves Big Papi. He has so much fun. He's like a kid out there.
Yeah, he's so popular. Crap. People can't wait to stop him in the streets and put a gun in his back and shoot him. I just the Hall of Fame thing, I don't care if you're talking football, baseball, rock and roll, is so hypocritical. A bunch of elitist assholes deciding who's worthy and who's not.
It's all a bunch
people
of
that
crap.
Couldn't do it. People that couldn't play the game or play the music are the ones deciding who could play the music, who could play the game, who gets in to the Hall of Fame. Jeff Passan, that little pussy, ESPN takes him away from Yahoo like he's some hot commodity. He is a pussy. I will call him what he is. He's a pussy. He's a pretentious little douchebag. You got older school guys who, of course, are pretentious as well, but at least they've been around long enough to have seen the game through the steroid era, going back to the 70s, the Big Red Machine. Jeff Passan barely got out of diapers 5 years ago, and now he's the go-to guy for baseball knowledge and criticism?
It's a joke. It's a complete and utter joke. And the thing that pisses me off with Clemens and Bonds is they didn't need to do the steroids.
No, they would have both been locked for the Hall of Fame.
Lock, stock, first-round Hall of Famers without the cheating.
It was the Palmeiros, the Sosas, maybe the Maguires, who pushed their numbers up enough where they would have gotten in if this had never been uncovered.
Right.
But yeah, Clemens and Bonds easily would have gotten in.
Oh, and that's the frustrating part with those 2 idiots.
All right, moving on to one other baseball topic. Major League Baseball says no to Tampa Bay splitting the season between the Bay Area, St. Petersburg, and Montreal.
What do they have against Montreal?
I say move the goddamn team up to Montreal. If they can't figure out how to get them out of the Tropicana Dome into a decent, viable stadium after all these years, these decades, then let them fucking go back to... We never wanted the Montreal Expos to go away.
No, we didn't. That was a crock of shit move by then owner.
I would have no problem at all. Take them, put them back in Montreal, bring the Expos back. Bring the Expos back.
I'm all in favor of that.
Because I'm tired of this. Well, we really want to keep them in Tampa.
Why?
There has been no proof other than the fact they're brilliant baseball people down there. They know what they're doing, but the fans don't appreciate them.
The only Florida baseball is spring training.
Yeah, we'll save the Marlins for another day.
Yeah.
That joke. But at least they got a new stadium. Tampa Bay is a better team, can't get a new stadium.
It's ridiculous.
All right, NASCAR real quick, and racing in general.
Yep. Big news for the SRX.
Which Dave and I love.
CBS's made-for-TV Saturday night racing started by Tony Stewart and Ray Evernham. They're going legit. They brought in Don Hawk to be the chief executive officer to run the day-to-day operations, do the promotions, set everything up with the tracks. Brilliant move. Don Hawk is phenomenal when it comes to managing and running different parts for racing. He was the driving force behind Dale Earnhardt's business enterprises. They worked hand in hand, and Hawk really set Earnhardt up with different things.
And this is a great sign for SRX because it tells you that they are getting bigger. The ratings, even though it was a Saturday night, were much better than anticipated. So we're at least going to get another year of SRX. Hopefully more coming.
Hopefully
down the road.
That was so much fun.
And hopefully we get some different, bigger names.
Yep. A couple of different tracks. I love the short tracks that they're running around the country.
Yep.
Oh, phenomenal.
Now, of course, with NASCAR, because of COVID, it was a year late, but Dale Jr. finally got inducted into the NASCAR Hall of Fame. Congrats. Yay.
Yeah.
Yay.
We talk about the elitist baseball Hall of Fame. NASCAR is almost the opposite.
Tony Stewart, this was a big announcement over the weekend during the football game. Tony Stewart will be in the booth for Fox for both the Clash at the Coliseum and the Daytona 500.
That's exciting.
With Clint Boyer. That will be fun.
That is going to be phenomenal.
Supposedly, what they're going to do at Fox is they're going to rotate now with Jeff Gordon out, since he's gone on to take a more full-time role with Hendrick Motorsports, is that they're going to rotate in announcers to work with Mike Joy and Clint Boyer.
I like it.
But Tony Stewart, great first choice, especially for these two races.
Yeah, that's going to be fun. He and Boyer are going to be great. Oh my God.
Of course, former teammates.
Yep.
At Stewart-Haas.
Yeah.
So.
Oh my God, that's going to be so much fun.
And then finally in NASCAR, as we're getting revved up, we're getting close, kids. Just a couple weeks away.
Clash at the Coliseum coming.
Yep. Stricter cup penalties for the 2022 season. I don't want to get into the details on this stuff because it's just, the press release is just so detailed, so much minutia. But because it's a next-gen car involved, they are making sure nobody fucks with the next-gen car.
The tolerances are what they are. You can't mess with it. Which, come on. If you ain't cheating, you ain't trying.
But they are saying now that if you get the worst level, you could actually lose playoff eligibility.
Wow, they're getting serious.
Yes.
That's almost taken some of the fun out of it, too. I liked the creativity of what the crew chiefs could do to get the peak performance out of their vehicles.
Oh, I love you. You ain't cheating, you ain't trying. Where do you draw the line?
All right, you got to go back to the day when, Smokey Yunick, his car won on fuel mileage, so NASCAR tore it apart. He got fed up with the inspection post-race, so he drove away with the car, leaving the fuel cell sitting there. Where was that extra stuff? Roll cage, baby.
All right. Women's basketball. I have to give props here. We don't talk about women's basketball a lot, but Ayoka Lee deserves a mention here on Sports Frenzy. Ayoka Lee, Kansas State, Division I women's record, 61 points this past week. Not playing a cupcake. They were playing number 14 Oklahoma, and she put up 61 points for K-State.
That's a phenomenal performance that deserves to be recognized.
Yeah. When you're playing a ranked team
and you're
mid-season and you put up 61, I don't care, man, woman, I don't care. That's impressive.
That's impressive for anybody to do.
Yep.
Way to go.
And of course, we have to give thoughts and prayers to Dick Vitale. He's already bowed out for the rest of the college season, of course, dealing with cancer treatments.
Yep, and growths and polyps on his vocal cords.
Right. Now, I've never been the biggest. I have to be honest. I'm not going to be a hypocrite. I'm not the biggest Dickie V fan in the world. I think because of him, that's why we got guys like Gus Johnson.
And Tony Romo.
But, there is a soft spot in my heart somewhere, deep, deep, dark, in there, in one of the chasms, the black holes of my heart for Dickie V.
The excitement that he brings, the knowledge he has, is impressive. It's just a little too over the top.
Yep. One NBA note real quick. Shockingly, I love this. As little as I pay attention to the NBA, I hate the Lakers, and I hate the Nets because of the whole super team, right. LeBron James. Let's try to bring guys in, sign with us for next to nothing. All these old veterans, Blake Griffin,
try and manufacture an opportunity for a ring.
Of course, the Nets have the issues with the vaccination status of Kyrie Irving. Well, James Harden finally decided he's probably had enough. So he's saying, I want out at the end of the year. And this, of course, is the guy who forced his way out of Houston last year to go to Brooklyn.
Hasn't he forced his way out of a few places?
Oklahoma City. He is a poster child, along with Antonio Brown, for what is wrong with professional sports today.
Yep.
And this is why the NBA sucks, is because he'll more than likely get his way one way or the other. He might have to play out the rest of the year with the Nets, but then he can go free agent
somewhere else.
He wants supposedly to go to Philadelphia to play with his former GM, Daryl Morey, from Houston, where he forced his way out of because, of course, Morey got fired over the whole China thing.
And we told you back in the day how we felt about that.
And then finally, what we're going to do here, we're going to wrap up with our sports takes, do a moment of silence, and then we're going to go one extra segment real quickly to do our deep dive on some of our dumbasses of the week. But NCAA men's hoops, Auburn is number one for the first time ever.
Wow.
And of course, who's their head coach? Bruce Pearl, cheater extraordinaire.
There you go.
You just go back to NASCAR with what you were saying.
You ain't cheating, you ain't trying.
So Bruce Pearl, as many violations as he has had over his career.
How is he still able to get a job?
Let alone have the number one team in the country.
My God, this guy should have been sanctioned out of coaching years ago.
He and Kelvin Sampson.
My God.
Take Rick Pitino with you.
I think those are three guys on this week's plane.
I don't know if I want to wish that on them. The plane of Pitino's got a seat. Pitino is guaranteed.
Has a permanent seat on the Sports Frenzy plane of doom.
Yes, because he's going to grope the stewardess. but Kelvin Sampson and Bruce Pearl, as bad as they have been for college basketball, I don't know if I'm putting them on the plane of doom yet.
Throw them in the aisle with the parachute.
Yeah. Pitino has got a standing reservation.
Put those two in the aisle with the parachute for a last-minute ejection. Pitino's handcuff locked in.
If you kids don't know, we just came up with the plane of doom here recently, where we occasionally will reference a 12-seater, a plane that we would kind of hope would go down in flames, and we would put our least favorite people in the world, especially sports, politics, and entertainment, on it. So, yes, Rick Pitino has got a reserve seat.
Yep.
Finally, let's talk about hockey. Obviously, you're a Blackhawks fan.
Yep.
But Clark Gillies of the Islanders passed away. New York legend.
Yeah.
Um,
That's sad news.
and again, I do listen to a lot of New York sports radio, and they really have bent over backwards to praise him.
Yeah, he was phenomenal through his career.
So, all right, kids, there you go. One last segment coming. Philosophical dumbass talk. Not dumbass or not.
Not quite philosophical frenzy. Kind of a hybrid.
Yes. Yes, we hope you enjoy it. It's going to be fun. We're going to take our dumbasses and explore the deep meaning behind
why
their dumbassery.
Yes.
So stay tuned. We will be right back.
In a world of politically correct sports coverage, two individuals stand alone as the last bastion of sanity. The Maestro and the Conquistador star in Sports Frenzy 2.0, the podcast.
Available on Spotify, Anchor, Google, Radio Public, Pocket Cast, Breaker, Apple, Overcast, and Castbox.
Hey kids, welcome to the fourth segment of Sports Frenzy 2.0 here for January 27th, 2022. I'm the Conquistador Dave Height.
I'm the Maestro Kevin Crane.
And this segment is going to be our philosophical dumbass segment. But we want to start off with something positive that actually came out of the weekend with the NFL. The Kansas City Chiefs fans got together and everybody started making $13 donations to Buffalo's Oishai Children's Hospital in recognition of what the Bills Mafia had done before. And as of this morning, over $300,000 had been raised. And I'm sure that number has gone up. So kudos to the Chiefs fans for stepping up and doing something positive in recognition of what took place between the two teams and the support that they gave each other throughout that.
Yeah, so this is why we're kind of looking at this in a different way this week. We're not playing our game show. We're not doing the straightforward dumbasses. There are going to be some nuances, some gray areas here, because now we are going to pile on Kansas City.
Yes, because that's what we do. So morphing in from the positive to the negative, last week leading up to the game, Chiefs linebacker Willie Gay stupidly damaged property in a domestic dispute with a woman, breaking a vacuum cleaner. He was arrested. Well, what's the big deal? It's again an NFL player getting in trouble for doing something stupid and his coach not holding him accountable at all. Andy Reid once again lets stuff slide and says, oh, we're going to let him play.
And nobody calls him out for it. Nobody in the media, oh, he's such a great guy. Oh, he's probably going to go eat a burger and have a little mustard in his mustache. How about we hold him accountable for all the terrible shit that has happened under his watch, including his son?
He always gets a pass. Nobody questioned him. Nobody questioned Gay's arrest or being allowed to play. It was a non-issue because, oh, it's the championship weekend. Bull crap. I'm sick of the game coming before any morality. It's got to freaking stop.
Completely agree. I am going to call out, believe it or not, I'm going to do something that many would say is a complete 180 from what they would think the Maestro would say in this situation. Because everybody knows I hate Pat Mahomes' family. Pat Mahomes, not Patrick, Pat Mahomes. Yeah, mommy, get mad at me. Cancel me. You and your little spoiled brat son. And, of course, Patrick Mahomes' spoiled brat fiance. But I am actually, believe it or not, this week on the dumbass segment, going to side with Brittany Matthews, Patrick Mahomes' fiance. After they came back, that epic game we've talked about, beat the Bills in overtime at Arrowhead. Some people say it's bougie. I don't. If you have got the money, whether you've earned it or whether you inherited it, then be bougie. She's got a bottle of champagne up in the luxury box, pops the cork, sprays the crowd below, the Kansas City fans. Oh, David. Dave's sitting here shaking his head like, what's the big deal? Social media, Twitter went nuts criticizing her. Not only for, the rich entitled fiance.
Oh, for the love of God.
Dave, it gets worse. It gets worse. There were people saying, show some respect for the children. You're spraying alcohol on children. Show some respect, because there might have been people in the crowd who were former alcoholics.
Oh, for the love of God and all that's holy, how fucking politically correct have we gotten in this world?
This is how stupid. I am backing up the Mahomes family.
Let them freaking celebrate. The reason the champagne is up there, it was brought up there probably by the ownership.
The people complaining, oh my God, it's cold out. You're spraying us with liquid when it's cold out.
If you're that much of a pussy, stay home.
So do you understand why I'm backing up?
Oh, by far, yeah. Celebrate the shit out of it. You're telling me that nobody was throwing beer and anything else in the stands?
But the
really?
Excuses on social media.
Really?
You could have sprayed champagne into a former alcoholic's mouth. You could have sprayed alcohol on a child. Oh my God, people! Get a life! Seriously, get a life!
Ugh.
This is the one time I will defend the Mahomes family.
Agreed.
Unfortunately, now we have to get even more negative with hockey.
Oh, yeah. Cool.
Negative segment about racism.
There's multiple fronts here. The East Coast Hockey League player Jacob Panetta has been banned for the remainder of the season for making a racist gesture at Jordan Subban. Now, supposedly, Panetta wanted to fight Subban over the course of whatever was going on in the game, and as Subban was skating away, Panetta made what they're calling a monkey gesture. Panetta says it wasn't a monkey gesture. It was me posing like a muscle tough guy, which he says he's been caught on camera doing to other players throughout the season and his career. Without actually having seen what he did, or I would like to see the comparison of this incident with what he's done in the past before passing judgment, as the Hockey League seems to have done. And yeah, if it was a racist gesture, I think a full season is a little ridiculous. A few games, yes. Full season, sorry. But because it's Jordan Subban, Big Brother plays up in the NHL, so we got to cow down to that one. It's getting a little ridiculous. He shouldn't have done it. He should have to go through whatever counseling they have there, but not a whole freaking season being penalized.
That does seem extreme.
That's way too damn excessive.
But look, we go back to NASCAR for a second. Look at what happened to Kyle Larson.
I know, they knocked him out, took away his...
Netflix, I see, is coming out in a couple of weeks with their Bubba Wallace documentary called Race. Get it?
Yeah.
Double meaning.
Mm-hmm.
There was a noose in my garage. There was not a goddamn noose in the goddamn garage. It was a pull down. Anyway, we still have to stick with racism. because one of my least favorite sports commentators of all time, the talentless, stupid Stephen A. Smith, has got to come out the minute the first coach is hired in the NFL. Nathaniel Hackett gets hired by the Broncos, and he's got to go on an epic rant about how it's racist because Eric Bieniemy has the same qualifications that Nathaniel Hackett does. So why wasn't Eric Bieniemy interviewed for the job? But here's the catch, Dave. Here's what really, really makes Stephen A. Smith a hypocritical piece of shit dumbass. Is that he qualifies this after he goes on this rant. Nathaniel Hackett, Eric Bieniemy, both have the same qualifications. Why wasn't Bieniemy, considered for the job? Why didn't Elway consider him? He's a racist. Oh, but if this is a precursor to them trading for Aaron Rodgers, because Hackett, of course, was the OC in Green Bay,
then it makes perfect.
Oh, then Stephen A. Smith says, then I'll forgive it.
No,
you can't do that. You jackass! You can't qualify it. You call racist, but then you say, but if they get Aaron Rodgers, it's okay. A white quarterback. But if they get the white quarterback, who's the MVP of the league, it's okay. It's not racist. How stupid is this idiot? And he again, how do we let another idiot, Tony Romo, Stephen A. Smith, loudmouth with nothing to say, unlike us, get away with this shit?
Stephen, if you're going to make a comment, stand by your comment. This made you sound like a complete dumbass by putting the qualification in there.
That's the thing.
That's what I take issue with, is him not standing by what he said. He goes, but if they do that, no. You can't do it both ways, people. I would have more respect for him if he stuck by the initial comment.
And I do agree. And I think the NFL is trying to do the best they can with the Rooney Rule, as much as I don't agree with it. You're going to have Byron Leftwich hired. You're going to have Brian Flores hired. Mike Tomlin is not going to be the only African-American head coach here for very long.
No. And there's a lot of coordinators out there that I would love to see get an opportunity instead of some of the retreads.
Well, we talked about it earlier. If Leslie Frazier hadn't shit the bed, if Todd Bowles hadn't shit the bed, they would probably at least
they would have been hired by now.
Been hired. So at some point, you got to look at performance. And if they're not performing,
then they're
sorry,
not.
I don't care what the color of their skin is. They don't deserve the job. All right, sticking with ESPN. I'll be interested to see what the Conquistador thinks about this one. Mina Kimes. I think I'm saying her name right. Mina Kimes. Kimes. ESPN.
I don't know.
Might be Kimes.
Kimes.
Could be Kimes. Mina Kimes. Got torn apart here within the last day or two by former San Francisco 49ers quarterback Jeff Garcia. Because Kimes, again, this is going to be a tricky one. That's why I wanted to do this segment this way. Topics that we're going to have to discuss. It depends on how you look at your sports commentators. Jeff Garcia did not like the fact that Mina Kimes, like many of us out there, have ripped on Jimmy Garoppolo. Of course, he's a San Francisco 49ers guy.
Yeah, Garcia's going to be a homer.
Right. And he started tearing into Kimes on social media, but he was bringing up the whole, has she ever played a down of football?
Oh, for the love of God.
Has she ever thrown a touchdown pass? Has she ever played in a game? So he was doing the whole, you're a narp. Don't talk about Jimmy Garoppolo because you've never played the game. He never said anything about her being a woman versus a man. So I don't think he was trying to say necessarily because she's a woman, she can't criticize Garoppolo.
As a sportscaster,
it doesn't look good.
As a fan, people who have watched game after game, quarterback play after quarterback play, Anybody with any strain of common sense and 2 eyes can tell that Garoppolo has problems and deserves the critiques that he's gotten to this point. Sorry, Mr. Garcia. You're way the frick out of line here. Quit being a little Niners homeboy bitch and actually pay attention to what's the play on the field.
Yeah, and Garcia's made enough money in his life where he can say what he wants and it's not going to hurt him. He's not really. I have not seen him out there where he's like trying to earn money doing anything.
I'm sorry, to me.
So he can say the most politically incorrect, nasty things he wants.
To me, he's irrelevant.
Right.
He's been gone for so long, he hasn't done anything. He was mediocre. He was not the be-all, end-all quarterback.
I will be, again, the pessimist, the devil's advocate to a point on this, though. While I agree with everything you said, he handled this completely wrong. He should have couched his words much better. There is a little bit of truth to what he says. You and I never played the game on the level that Garoppolo and he have played the game. We don't know what goes on in those locker rooms. We don't know how it feels to play in front of 70, 80,000 people. There is a little bit of truth to it, but I also agree with you that you and I have watched how many thousands upon thousands of hours of football. And I'm sure Kimes has as well. That you can learn. Just because you're not born in Spain doesn't mean you can't learn Spanish.
Right. Or the history or anything else.
I am really torn on this because while I agree with the former player saying that we don't understand the situation, the environment, I also don't think the former player understands the fact that we can learn from watching a lot.
That we're more intelligent than you think we are, and having viewed how many different players throughout all the years, you can pick up the nuances of what's going on. You can tell who's got it, who doesn't, and who never will.
Well said. Very well said. All right, now we have to, of course, delve into the weekly world of COVID. Gonzaga took away John Stockton's season tickets. Stockton, of course, Hall of Fame basketball player with the Utah Jazz, alum from Gonzaga. Now, we know California is nutsy cuckoo when it comes to COVID. They've gone over the top on the rules and what they require and what they want you to do and have when it comes to going to see a public concert, a game.
Walking your dog down the street.
And Stockton is big in terms of, I could never find out researching this if he's anti-vax. It sounds like he is. I don't know if that means he hasn't gotten it, but he refused to wear a mask. It came down to the fact that he would not wear a mask when he would go see Gonzaga play. And they finally told him, we're pulling your season tickets. No more season tickets. You're not welcome anymore.
Because you're not following our rules and guidelines.
Right. Now, here's my problem with... Now, Stockton's not innocent here because there is a documentary out there where he is... Oh, this is so... And we're going to get into this on the weekend edition, too.
Yeah,
the vaccination stuff just won't go away. Everybody's fighting. Vax people, non-vax people. Nobody can be in the middle like we always want. Politics, nobody can have any common sense except for Dave and I.
Just do what we tell you and your life will be so much better.
Again, I'm not sure if Stockton has been vaccinated, but it sure doesn't seem like he has based on this documentary that's floating around out there. where he has claimed, and this is false. Don't come out and claim stuff, scientific fact, without proof.
There's too much of the bullshit going on out there.
He came out and he said thousands of top-level athletes, pro, college, high school, thousands upon thousands have died because of the COVID vaccine.
What?
Yeah, there's no proof of that. There's nothing that says that.
No.
But this obviously leads you to believe he's an anti-vaxxer. And Dave and I have said we're both vaccinated, we're both boosted, but we also agree with people's right to choose what they wish to do with their bodies. But
And if they do that, you have to follow all the other damn guidelines that are in place.
Right.
Play by the damn rules.
Now, if Stockton had been vaccinated and they were giving him a hard time about wearing the mask, I would be on his side. I would say, screw you. I've been vaccinated. I'm not wearing your goddamn mask. Now, I don't think that's the case with him, though. But for him to come out in this documentary and say these thousands of top-level athletes on all levels have died because of the vaccine, that's stupid stuff.
That's stupidity. That is pure stupidity.
That should be the reason why he got his season tickets revoked.
Oh, God, I hate hearing that stupid shit.
All right. Going to politics.
God.
And luckily, this one ended
sports
well.
Related?
Yes, of course it is.
I'm just making sure.
This is not Fox News. This is Sports Frenzy. We've had all our issues here recently with the Australian Open and Novak Djokovic. So, of course, the COVID thing now we just dealt with John Stockton. Now we go to politics. The Aussie Open can't stay out of controversy's way. Fans were told by security to remove shirts that said, "Where is Peng Shuai?"
Oh, come on!
You and I have talked about the Peng Shuai situation in the past.
Why, again, is Australia bowing down to fucking China?
So people were told to remove those shirts
because
they said it is a rule at the Australian Open that you cannot wear shirts with any kind of political slogan on them.
Did they just make that shit up?
Well, here's the good news. After the uproar when everybody heard about this across the globe and bombarded the higher-ups at the Australian Open, they reversed course and said, we'll allow the shirts now. We understand that maybe we made a mistake.
That is not a political statement. That is in support of an athlete
who we still don't know to this day if she's safe or not.
Exactly. I am so fucking sick of China and everybody kissing their ass. If there was a frickin' Olympic Games to be boycotted, this is the one.
Oh, technically we are boycotting it, kind of, sort of.
Over maybe. COVID, sort of, ish.
Yeah. We're not sending the press. We're not sending the media.
There's so many. Yeah.
And the sad thing is right now, everybody's kissing China's ass.
Everybody's
scared of Russia. And we've got the most worthless president in our history leading us. We're right now number 3 in the world behind those two. Sweet meteor of death, when are you coming?
Would we even be 3?
Who
Germany?
Yeah, Germany silently is always there. Sitting in the background, just doing what they do. Yeah. All right, finally, on my, again, this philosophical dumbass segment to wrap up Sports Frenzy for this week. This guy, it's been a while. We're going to go back to sports. Just lighthearted sports. No COVID, no politics. Just a
Pure stupidity.
regular garden variety dumbass. Red Foreman would be proud of us. You remember Grayson Allen? Duke.
Oh my God.
Duke asshole who was tripping people.
Yes.
He's now with the Milwaukee Bucks, the world champion Milwaukee Bucks.
Oh God.
He's in his 4th year in the NBA, believe it or not. He was a first-round pick, and he's still pulling the same
tripping
shit.
Bullshit.
He had a flagrant 2 foul late last week on Chicago's Alex Caruso. Billy Donovan went off the rails, and Billy Donovan doesn't do that.
No, he's Mr. Calm on the sideline.
Broke his wrist. Caruso broke his wrist.
Oh, God.
And, of course, Milwaukee, oh, my God, Grayson's just a model citizen. You don't understand.
He's an asshole.
Grayson Allen is the problem with
career.
sports. And we've talked about this. There is a dark side to the Duke basketball program and Mike Krzyzewski that people refuse to go into. They refuse to explore it. They refuse to investigate it. He should have put this kid in line when he was at Duke.
Oh, well, it's okay. He's just a solid basketball player and everything will be fine. It just got his foot caught up with the other player.
He got suspended 1 game.
Bullshit.
Broke another player's wrist, got suspended 1 game.
Yeah, well, when he trips somebody else and he gets his ass handed to him.
I do hope somebody on the Bulls down the road takes him out. And I hope Billy Donovan looks the other way. Oh, well, I never noticed how the United Center roof looked so awesome. Because that's what I would do. If I was Donovan, I would say, last guy on the bench, put him in, say, take his ass out. I don't care if he breaks his wrist, breaks his ankle, cracks his head open.
If he rips
you
his
take him out. He's a shame not only to what he did to our player, but he's been a shame, a scourge on basketball. And if Mike Krzyzewski couldn't keep him in line, I'll make damn sure it happens.
Yeah. Oh, God, I hate that douchebag. Wait,
oh my God.
Both of them, Coach K and this butt plug.
So there you go, kids. Supersized, philosophical, Red Foreman Dumbass of the Week segment. Hope you enjoyed it. Just felt we needed to explore those topics a little bit more because they were a little serious at times.
Yep. Things need to be addressed in the correct way. Not with stupidity.
Right. When we get back to our normal dumbass segments, dumbass or not, or just regular dumbasses, or people just do normal, harmless, stupid shit.
Yeah.
Then we'll have more fun. But this week was a little bit deeper and darker. But I am the maestro, Kevin Crane.
I'm the conquistador, Dave Height.
Check out the weekend edition, kids. Fun, fun, fun. We will review The Last Duel, along with John Mellencamp's new album, the latest episode of Peacemaker.
Yep, lots of stuff coming up. Hey, drop us a line. Tell your friends. Spread the word.
As always, on Spotify, Anchor, Google, Radio Public, Pocket Cast, Breaker, Apple, Overcast.
Anywhere you can get your fine podcasts.
Check out our Facebook page each and every week for our football picks, as well as our NASCAR picks, as that season will be starting up very soon. We love you. We hope you enjoyed this week's episode.
We appreciate the support.
We will see you next week. Later.